This is a day to celebrate all the great moments that were here and to celebrate hopefully a bright future.
Peter, you have covered so many of these moments over the years. Obviously, we figure about 4,000 games. Peter's got. That's been my math.
I said off camera, 4,000 games, 5,000 excuses, but I work with Eckersley and Rice, who never once made an excuse about anything. So I just. Well, what I love about this park, it's like playing, if it's up against a schoolhouse or against your house, all the weird things that can happen. I mean, I used to always say, I have a chance to see something I've never seen before. I mean, there's no reason for that ladder to be there, but it creates things that are really fun. The doorway down the left field line, I remember a ball that stuck in there once, watching Yaz's head going back and forth as 3 runs came around the bases. There's so many weird things that happen here that makes it very similar to what it was like when we were playing as kids, whether it's stickball or some form of baseball. And I think that's part of its charm. Plus, you're so close to the players. It's not like being way back in an arena. You're so close. It's almost like going to a little league, high school, college game, because you watch people warming up right in front of you the way your friends warmed up in front of you.
And you were both part of other teams in other ballparks, in other stadiums. What was it about this ballpark that kind of fired up the baseball romantic in you?
Peter's saying it's the intimacy, and that it doesn't matter where you sit, you do feel like you're part of the action, and you know, the intensity and the commitment of Red Sox fans is so clear that when you are at a Red Sox game and there's 37,000 people rooting for you, you feel it, and you don't feel that at other ballparks.
You know, we owned teams that were playing in football stadiums before we arrived at Boston. So I was so overcome with wonder and awe, and just I couldn't wait for the season to open. When we first came, I was looking for a place to live, but every time I would drive by Fenway Park, I just would have to sort of turn and go in and just walk around. I think the thing that Larry and I talk about most with the stadium is how great it is as a ballpark when there's no one there. We're lucky enough that we can walk around, get some exercise, and walk out on the field and just sort of drink in this magic that we feel every time we come to work.
Fans got to do that yesterday, and I don't know if you thought no one would be here yesterday. You got 54,000.
I don't think
Did you ever expect that?
It would be that many, and you know, in some ways that's a compliment to the fact it's the people's park, and people want to be at Fenway Park, and to hear the joy that so many people had seeing all the places that they hadn't been to in the park. It was a great day.
When you came here in 2002, as Bobby Valentine said earlier, what has changed since then is it's no longer the old ballpark on the corner. It has become revitalized, renewed. And obviously you spent 10 years making so many improvements. How proud are you of what your team, not the player team, the front office team, has been able to do to Fenway Park over the 10 years?
Well, when you think about what Janet Marie Smith and Jonathan Jewell, Larry Lucchino did on our behalf, it's extraordinary. If we'd have had the wrong team doing this, who knows what the end result would have been. There were a lot of things that could have gone wrong if we'd gone a separate way and had just a regular sort of bleachers above the Green Monster, for instance. They were key in keeping the character and the feeling that you want to have when you walk in a 100-year-old ballpark intact, despite all these things that needed to be done.
Well, obviously, next time we see you, we'll get back into the team and where we need to go from here. But it is a day to celebrate the ballpark, and you both should be congratulated. And I hope you get to enjoy every minute of it. Have a great afternoon here, guys. Tom Warner and John Henry, obviously, with us here. We're going to come back. We will talk about the game. It is the Yankees in town. We'll get to all of that, I promise. But today, it is all about the 1912 opening of Fenway Park, the 1934 reconstruction, the first of a few along the way. And 100 years later, she's still going strong. Full coverage of the ceremony and eventually the game coming up here on NESN. for the pregame ceremony that we'll bring to you live. We've got player reaction to the 100th birthday. Let's check in with Jenny Dell right now. She's got today's field level report brought to you by Post Woodworking Sheds.
TC, as the Red Sox and Yankees prepare to play this 100th anniversary game here at Fenway Park, I had an opportunity to speak with some of the players on why this day is so special to them.
Bring back a lot of memories from when everything started here at Fenway 100 years ago. So go back to the tradition, wearing the uniform from back in the day. It's great to be part of it.
I think the history here in itself, it's something special. The moment you put on that Red Sox uniform, you feel the history, and you know how many people put that uniform on. It's almost like you feel very minuscule compared to those guys.
I mean, it's history. I don't think there's any other field that's ever going to get to 100 years. I mean, not even any other sport really. So, to be a part of something like this it's a memory I'm going to be able to look back on, be able to show the kids, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
All past Red Sox personnel have been invited back for today's pregame ceremony. The Boston Pops will be performing, and on top of that, TC, we're trying to set the Guinness Book of World Record for the largest toast held in a single venue.
All right, Jenny, thanks very much. Time now to get the AccuWeather forecast here at Fenway from WBZ meteorologist Todd Gutner. Every time you hear, I keep saying it, it's unbelievable. It's like midsummer.
I think the weather gods are Red Sox fans. I mean, this is incredible. If we needed another reason to celebrate, we have the weather to help us out today. It's going to be really warm down here at Fenway. Temperatures are in the 70s already. They're going to stay in the 70s from first pitch through the last one later this evening. And some interesting notes for you, TC. Here at Fenway, it's been so warm and so breezy with the wind blowing out to the outfield over this homestand. Fenway Park is yielding over 3 home runs per game. The MLB average right now is 2 home runs per game. And we both know that both these lineups can hit some home runs. So the ball should be flying out again tonight.
That's our sabermetric Fenway forecast. We've never had that before. But it is incredible that we talk so often about it being a doubles park, because so often the numbers are skewed by April when you don't see the ball leaving. This is midsummer when the ball travels pretty well.
Over the last 5 years, I believe it's the 3rd or 4th worst home run park in the American League. But the wind patterns have changed as they've built up, as Wade Boggs used to tell us. The wind patterns have all changed here, but it has changed back in the 70s. I mean, you'd see balls hit, you get that southwest wind, but all the high rises have gone up around here. You don't have the same wind patterns carrying balls out to center field.
But it always starts to travel better when the warm weather comes, and the warm weather's here. Is it going to stay here for the weekend, Todd?
Well, unfortunately, all great things have to come to an end. We're eyeing rain. We obviously need it around here. We're in a severe drought in New England right now. Most of this weekend, we are going to see some wet weather, but Saturday, the afternoon game, only a shower or two by the later innings. I think we get that game in. It's the Sunday evening game, 8 o'clock, with heavy rain approaching. It looks like a pretty good soaking here Sunday night into Monday.
By the way, I'd like to point out both those games on other networks so they can have the rain delays. Todd, you will, of course, have a full forecast tonight.
Yeah, we'll be following this rain, plotting it as it's coming into New England over on WBZ, so check us out after the games. All
right, good stuff, Todd. Thank you. Again, the first sabermetric forecast you have ever seen on any network anywhere. Todd Gutner with us from WBZ. You look down on that gorgeous afternoon. What a great day to get to the ballpark. The ceremony starting just after 2, so don't go away.
Red Sox First Pitch on NESN is brought to you in part by Post Woodworking Sheds. Visit postwoodworking.com. Red Sox First Pitch on NESN is brought to you in part by Fred C. Church Insurance. It's not just the policy, it's the people.
Today, the Red Sox face the Yankees for the first time this season, and we'll get to that. We've also got coverage, in case you haven't heard, of the 100th anniversary celebration of Fenway Park. That is coming up. We say goodbye to Friday Night Fenway, and we roll on with Red Sox First Pitch, brought to you by the farm families of Cabot and VermontVacation.com.
Live from Yawkey Way, this is Red Sox First Pitch, presented by the farm families of Cabot Creamery Cooperative and VermontVacation.com.
Oh, gorgeous day for baseball and a 100th anniversary celebration. That's all coming up. Yesterday, more than 54,000 people came to the park for the open house, and today a full house for the special birthday party. We've been taking looks at the ballpark over the years here throughout the shows, and this is 1963. You take a look at the ballpark. You see the Prudential Center under construction in the background up beyond right field. You take a look at the same shot live right now here at Fenway Park. A lot has changed. A lot of nooks and crannies have been filled into this ballpark, mostly with seats, and it is a different ballpark, certainly, than anyone anticipated even 10 years ago when this last round of construction began, the incremental improvements to the ballpark over the last 10 years. Joining us here as we get to the talk of baseball, which we've gone 40 minutes without really talking about this game yet, Nick Cafardo, Peter Abraham of the Boston Globe. And obviously we've talked so much about the ceremonies and the former players, but the current players have a 3-game losing streak in the New York Yankees coming to town. A different lineup again today. Ryan Sweeney batting second. Bobby Valentine kind of tinkering with things here to just try to find a little something offensively.
Has to, he's trying to find out everything about his team. He's trying to find out about his bullpen. He's trying to find out about his lineup, who can do what. And he's trying to take advantage of a very hot Ryan Sweeney right now in that number 2 hole to get things going at the top of the order. You know, it's awfully tough without Jacoby Ellsbury in this lineup. It's awfully tough without Carl Crawford, and he's got to try to do something.
You're trying to tread water against the likes of the Rangers and the New York Yankees. The only way you're going to do that is with pitching. Clay Buchholz, a rough first start. Last time out, a rough first few innings, but really seemed to start to look like the Clay Buchholz of old for the first time. How encouraging is that for Buchholz?
Well, I think if he ends up going on to have a good season, he'll look at that second start as kind of a turning point. Right in the middle of that start, Red Sox down early in the game, comes back, pitches very effectively at the end of the game. I think he retired 12 of the last 13 batters he faced, gave his teammates a chance to get back in that game, and they won it. Buchholz needs to do a lot of the similar things against the Yankees, a team that he hasn't had great success with in the past, but he's capable certainly of pitching well against. He knows these hitters very well. I think, as you said, TC, it's very important for him to get good pitching this weekend.
When we talk, Peter, about what Bobby Valentine is doing, trying to find out what his bullpen can do, what his pitchers can do. We've seen Bard maybe left in longer than most people would have thought. Morales the other night. How much of this is Bobby Valentine trying to figure out what a guy can bring to me? In both of those games, or certainly in the Morales game, the team was down by 3 runs. He said, I left him out there a little longer because I need to see what he can do.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I think that he had some pitchers that he got to be afraid of. So, I mean, once that happened, he wanted to look at other guys and see how far they could go. I mean, I look at in both that tattooing, really the bad tattooing that Morales took, and leaving Bard in were the result of just being terrified to put Melanson in the game. And, if they have that extra middle guy, or just put Albers in, maybe Bard gets through that. They get through that game. It's nothing in the 8th inning. But when managers get into those positions, they don't really have any choice. The decisions all turn out wrong.
Padilla got up in that game but never got in. Any concerns with their use of Padilla, or are they concerned about overuse of Padilla right now?
I think they're very concerned with overusing Padilla. They really didn't know coming in whether he could handle that role to begin with. They think he can, but he's the one guy in there they have to be very careful about how they use him.
And as we look at this lineup, the outfield right now, Repko out there in center field today, Peter, and you're seeing Repko get the opportunity. Darnell McDonald has struggled offensively. Is Repko getting a chance here to play during the injuries to Crawford and Jacoby Ellsbury?
Well, clearly, and I think Bobby Valentine looks at him as somebody in the number 9 spot who can put down a bunt if he needs to, make some things happen in a small ball kind of way. He's not an ideal solution by any means. This was a non-roster player invited to spring training, couldn't really catch on with the Twins last year, but Bobby's trying to just come up with some solutions here in the outfield. As Nick said, without Jacoby Ellsbury and Carl Crawford, they're really trying to put some pieces together here.
Well, the thing about the Red Sox and Yankees, we've said you can go back 5 years, 10 years, you can slice it home, away. Our honey-do list does just that. Home, away, doesn't matter. If you go the last 10, 12 years, they're within a game or 2 of each other. It is amazing. And this, with the Red Sox going 12-6 last year, but it really is a reminder that so often this division comes down to what you do against Toronto and Baltimore and Tampa, not necessarily what you do against the Yankees.
Yeah, it definitely does. And this division right now is it's a good division, but it's a very mediocre division right now with Baltimore on top, and I don't think they'll stay on top, but who knows, you know? You never know.
Well, they did this last April.
Yeah.
I think the point is, again, nobody's running away with it. This was like last year. You weren't all of a sudden 10 games out of first at the end of the month.
Yeah, it's 3.5 right now, and they play terribly, and they've had a lot of injuries. So certainly if they get themselves straightened out, they have a stretch of games coming up, not as difficult as the first 15. This could all be straightened out in the span of a couple of weeks, much like it was last year.
Now, by the end of the weekend, you will have seen all 4 AL playoff teams from last year in the first 15 games. Gentlemen, thank you. I know you want to get out there and get your Welch's sparkling juice for the toast. We don't want to let you miss that. That's Nick Affardo, Peter Abraham with us, Peter Gammons and I. Continue after this. Fenway Park, a living museum, tells the story of the ballpark, its features and history, using 100 plaques, displays, and historical markers throughout the park. Today we look at the plaque from the Pesky Pole, which was officially given its name on Johnny Pesky's 87th birthday, September 27th, 2006. And more than a few fans have added their name to that pole along the way. We'll be taking a look at the ballpark and bring you live coverage of the ceremonies when we continue after this.
Red Sox First Pitch on NESN is brought to you in part by energy-saving Marvin Windows. Visit jbsash.com.
All right, tonight on NESN Daily with Jamison Coyle, Jamie Parker previews the next stop on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Tour. Julie Weatherby with a fantasy blast and the full recap of today's celebration that we will be bringing to you live in just a few moments. Dwight Evans, Tommy Harper, part of the contingent of former players who are here getting ready for the celebration. We'll have it all for you right now. The men looking over all of it from upstairs. A few from the booth. Presented by Dunkin' Donuts. Don and Jerry run on Dunkin'.
Okay, Tom, thanks very much. Well, Joey, we've known it's been coming up all year. We've seen the emblem on the field, but today it's here, and it's very special, no doubt.
It really is. You know, Donnie, when you look to yesterday, all the fans that came out to this ballpark just to be part of the ballpark, what do they have, something like 55,000 people come through here? I mean, that to me is amazing, and it wasn't for players to sign autographs. It was just to see the ballpark. And then today, it's kind of an eerie feeling sitting here for me personally, you know, to realize that this place has been here now 100 years and looks better than ever. And, you know, that's pretty amazing. So anybody that's got a ticket to today's game is really seeing history in the making, and I'm glad you and I have a chance to do the game.
Going to be very special here today. We're glad to bring it to you. Until then, we send it back outside to Tom Karen. TC?
Gentlemen, thank you. It's time for our Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof Stat. 100 years ago today, the Red Sox got their first ever win at Fenway Park in the ballpark's first ever game. They beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in 11 innings thanks to Tris Speaker's RBI single. Just as the Sox can count on playing well at Fenway, you can count on Just for Men Auto Stop for foolproof results. Fenway Park celebrating 100 years of baseball. Our coverage of the celebration continues after this.
Red Sox Game Day Live is brought to you in part by Bill DeLuca Chevrolet Buick GMC in Haverhill.
As a look at the ballpark in 1971, as you can see it from down to the lower ball on the right field side. Compare that to what it looks like now, and you see the big monster change. Of course, the green monster, you can't see in that shot, but the green monster with the seats up above it, the Coca-Cola corner section, those two sections beyond the roof, added a few years back. The ballpark has never looked better than it looks right now, getting ready for the 100th anniversary celebration. It begins just after the top of the hour, so stay with us. Red Sox First Pitch is presented by the Farm Families of Cabot Creamery Co-op. So look at Fenway Park 31 years ago, 1981. You can see how much changed as we bring you pictures of the ballpark over the years. I can tell you what happened the first game there. What happened the first game there?
Carlton Fisk had a 3-run homer to beat Bob Stanley and the Red Sox in his return.
In 1981 against the Chicago White Sox. Now you look at it now, the work being done out on the field. Here's take a look at today's lineup for the first of 18 against the New Yorkers, not the Highlanders, the Yankees in town today. Avila's with Ryan Sweeney, we've been telling you, batting second in the order today. Pedroia, Gonzalez, Ortiz, Euclid, Saltalamacchia, Ross in the 8-hole, Repko in center field. Carl Bean, the PA announcer here at Fenway Park, takes a look at the starting lineup for the 1912 Boston Red Sox, 100 years ago today.
And now the starting lineup for the Boston Red Sox. Leading off, playing right field, Harry Hooper. Batting second, playing second base, Steve Yerkes. Batting third, playing center field, Tris Speaker. Batting fourth, playing first base, Jake Stahl. Batting fifth, playing third base, Larry Gardner. Batting sixth, playing left field, Duffy Lewis. Batting seventh, playing shortstop, Heine Wagner. Batting eighth, catching, Les Nunemaker. And pitching for the Red Sox today, Buck O'Brien.
And of course, it was Tris Speaker who had the walk-off single in that game. Bob Ryan from the Globe joining us now. You actually did some research on that lineup.
And Charlie Hall went 3 innings and then was relieved, 4 innings, excuse me, by Charlie Hall relieved Buck O'Brien, went the remaining 7 innings, 3-hit relief work, and got the W in the 11th inning. 2 outs, nobody on when the winning rally was launched, by the way.
That's right, when it got going. And you were saying the second baseman had a good day.
Steve Yerkes, I just told Dustin Pedroia, give him something to think about, as if he needs motivation, Peter, right? Oh, yeah. Yerkes went 5 for 6 and had 2 doubles and 3 singles.
You guys both covered so many games here over the years. Did you ever think this ballpark would last this long?
No, because we were told for about 20 years that it was falling. And then it turned out it wasn't falling.
There but a couple of legislature votes or a couple of ins and outs, and you know, it wouldn't be here. We'd be in some other place, and they'd try to make it look like it and replicate it and be a theme park of it, but we have the real thing.
This is amazing. 1965, they drew 595,000 people in this ballpark. Tom Yawkey wanted to move.
Oh, I can tell you categorically that in June of 1967, I have the clipping from a Sporting News story by Larry Claflin of the Boston Record American. Yawkey said, can't live in this ballpark, can't make any money here, it has to go. This is 67, by the way, early in that season. And he said, I don't need to make money, I just don't want to lose any.
And as we sit here and celebrate this, you have to talk about 1967, because that's when everything changed.
Well, I think Bob would agree with me. I think it changed the way people viewed sports in New England forever. Not just the Red Sox. I think all of sports. I mean, remember, the Patriots were hardly what the Patriots are now. The AFL, I mean, God bless them, but the Bruins were in a period of being terrible for years. Even though the Celtics were very good, they didn't attract what the other sports attracted. They had great teams, but all of a sudden, and after a year just drudgery with the Red Sox, and again, I mean, they lost 100 games in 1965 and drew less than 600,000 people, and then they win, and it just seemed that everything changed here.
I've said it often, and Peter and I are totally in total agreement on this. They could never thank that group enough. They absolutely, it's dividing line in Red Sox history is 1967, and 3 people in particular, Dick Williams, Carl Yastrzemski, and Jim Lomborg. I mean, there are many other contributors, we know that. But those 3 people in particular have to get at the head of the class there. Everything that this is now flows from what happened in 1967.
We're talking about everything this is now. I mean, this is baseball as rock star. This is unlike anything else going on in Major League Baseball now.
Well, because this is the star behind us. This is the star, and everybody else are players in the production. But this regime has cleverly exploited it as well as better than any previous group had, and it made it into America's most beloved ballpark. But they've done a phenomenal job of making it the ongoing star. So everybody comes and goes, but the star remains.
And yesterday was another great reminder of that.
That is, I mean, honestly, they thought they might get 5,000. Just opening the doors, let people come out and go to the wall. We got 55,000, man. Let's doing Morning Joe today. At the end, I mean, we must have taken 20 minutes of everybody that was on the show standing on the mound taking pictures, because it means so much, even to people that from Alabama, or from Washington, or from New York, or New Jersey in Willie's case. I mean, you know, Barnacle and I were the only old two New Englanders, crusties.
But that's when you get the reminders. I remember in '03, Bruce Springsteen playing here, and it was the first concert since they started that. We got to come in for the sound check, and his bandmates are all getting their picture taken in front of the Green Monster. How many places do these guys play in? And that's when you get reminded what this means to so many people.
I have to put in a word for its sister, its dear deceased sister, Tiger Stadium. Same birth date today, 1912, was Navin Field, became Briggs Stadium, became Tiger Stadium, but the same edifice essentially, and was every bit, I thought, as good a place to see a game. It didn't survive. It didn't make it. It didn't have the patronage. It didn't have the good luck to survive the way this ballpark has. But just remember Tiger Stadium.
All right, we'll take a moment to do that, then we'll move on, because that's what we do here. We're provincial. It's all about Boston, Bob. You know that, Bob. Ryan with us here. Thank you, Bob. Bob Ryan from the Boston Globe. Our starting ace is brought to you by Ace Ticket. Great seats at great prices. Ivan Nova off to a great start. In fact, he hasn't lost since last June. It's the longest consecutive run of winning decisions in Major League Baseball. 14 straight regular season winning decisions. Clay Buchholz, meantime, has a 1-0 record. I said he should have a hold as well for how well he pitched in his own relief last time around after the 4-run first inning. The Red Sox and the former players getting ready for the pregame ceremony. We're getting ready to bring it to you, so stay with us.
Flavorful choices right next to our deep dish classics. So treat yourself good and treat yourself right. Uno's, that's why we're here.
Plenty of nostalgia here at the ballpark, including this team wearing those uniforms. See Kelly Shopik just sitting down, Cody Ross, Coach Tim Bogar. Those are the uniforms they're wearing today. No numbers on their back, so even the roster won't help you with who's out there today, because they didn't wear numbers in 1912. They're not wearing them today. We've got the ceremony coming up in just moments, and our coverage continuing now with Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by Uno's.
This is Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by Uno's, live from Yawkey Way.
Well, they've had the logo on the ballpark since opening day a week ago today. And of course, the opening day ceremony was nice, but this is the ceremony we've been anticipating. In just a few minutes here, it'll be the pregame ceremony, the 100th anniversary, and then after that, the Red Sox and Yankees ready to go at it here at Fenway. You take a look at the ballpark today, you take a look at it from our vantage point. This is what it was like in 1912. Of course, it wasn't Yawkey Way at the time, and there was no pregame stage here at the time, and there were no booths outside the ballpark. No Louis Tiant, no El Tiante Cuban sandwiches, no Wally's Favorite or Fenway Fish Shack. You see it all today here. Now it is inside the ballpark through the turnstiles, looking in from our stage in Gate D. Here on Yawkey Way, we welcome you back out to Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by Uno's. Tom Caron, along with Hall of Famer Peter Gammons, Dr. Charles Steinberg, coming back to the Red Sox this year, and Corey doing the choreography for this event. He was here for so long and manufactured so many of the special moments around the games. The right guy to be brought in to put this together today.
Definitely, and he and Rick Vaughn did such a great job of the last day of Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, which I still watch at least once a year because it brings tears to my eyes. So certain things to do with that old ballpark in Baltimore, and some of those people who are such good friends of mine. But it'll be, you know, I mean, we expect that the players will go to their positions and all that. It'll be really good. And just one thing we talked about off camera, just a reminder of what this ballpark is in history. Tommy Harper, a great player for the Red Sox, and a notable player, period. He was a coach with Montreal, and they had a young player, and we were all standing in left field before the game. And the player looked at Tommy and said, "Man, this place is old." Harper looked at him and said, "Ty Cobb played where you're standing right now."
And you go in the Green Monster, and the names in there, if you look and take your time and look at who signed what, there are names going back nearly 100 years here. You can't play here. You can't cover a game here. You can't watch a game here as a fan without being reminded of the history.
Definitely. I mean, it just, people remember. Somebody will tell you, well, I saw this happen here or saw that happen there. You know, remember a ball sticking in the doorway. Jim Lemon's inside the park home run that hit the ladder and went off into center field. I mean, and all those memories of things. They asked me this morning, oh, what's my greatest memory? And the more I thought about it, it wasn't the Fisk home run. It was the Dwight Evans catch, which is, in my mind, better than the Mays catch because it was directly over his head. It was you didn't see the ball off the bat. And I still say, you know, and when Joe Morgan, who hit it, would have ended the game, had dinner with some of his Reds teammates about a year ago, they said, Joe, that's the greatest catch ever.
A moment ago, we saw in the golf cart Johnny Pesky, Bobby Dorr back for it. Incredible when you talk about some of the living history that will be here today. Not just the ballpark itself, but the men who spent so many decades being a part of that living history of the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, there aren't tons of pennants or anything, but, you know, part of it is just fun. I mean, it's all around. But Billy Klaus was a guy in the 50s that a lot of us loved as kids because he played so hard. There were certain guys, George Thomas, somebody that we loved, like somebody I covered that was, you know, so much fun. Dick Schofield, whose grandson, Jason Worth, is such an extraordinary player today. I mean, you've been through a lot of guys. There are people here that made 1 and 2 appearances here in Fenway Park, and they brought them back. And you know, that to me is absolutely. There is Harley Hisner, who in 1951 pitched 1 game, but he faced DiMaggio and Mantle.
In the 1 game
Harley
he pitched for the Red
Hisner,
Sox.
and he's
Harley
here
Hisner is here today. We think about the men who spent years in uniform going along with the men who spent a game in the uniform, but they all have one thing in common. They all played here at Fenway Park, and while the ballpark has certainly been renovated and has been fitted with modern conveniences, it is still the same ballpark today that it was 100 years ago today. They played New York at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In 1912, they will play New York at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on 2012. Peter and I and Eck and Rice will see you after the game with full post-game ceremony, but we're bringing that ceremony to you now as we throw it onto the field to Carl Bean.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the celebration of the